Hi designers. Today I want to talk about all things Workspace in Adobe Illustrator. I want to start by saying workspaces are personal. So while I'm going to share some of the things that work well for me for my workflow, please know that you need to find your own workflow that works for you. Today we're going to talk about the different panel options that you have in Illustrator, what we see, how to turn them on and off, and then how to set up that personal workspace that helps your workflow. And so every time you open a project, you're not having to reopen the same panels that you need in all projects. This is going to help you to save time and also to work faster. And I am a firm believer in working smarter, not harder. So let's hop into Illustrator and take a look. When you're working in any design program, if you look at the top row, this is your menu bar. This is going to tell you what program you're in, and there's drop downs for each of those programs. Below, this is your workspace. It is detachable. If you double click on that top bar, it will expand to open in your entire window that you have available to you on your computer. I prefer this view. Otherwise, if I condense this down, the space that I have to create my artwork is getting smaller. So I personally like to open my window as large as I can have it. Also, just know that all your toolbars can move around, so I can attach it back there. If I need my brushes, I can detach my brushes and put them back in. Let's walk through the rest of the panels. These are your tools, and this is called your toolbar. You can hit the double arrow to make one row, or you can expand it out to be two. I typically work in two because my tools are more condensed in a smaller area. Down below, this is your status bar. This tells you what percent you're at. So in other words, I can zoom into 2400%. I can also command 0. That's the shortcut to fit into the page. And I can also command minus and plus to zoom in and out. So those shortcuts are really helpful. Just know that there's a quick access here. You can go to 100%, command 0 to fit in page. This is the percent of tilt. My students always do this. It's an accident. You can tilt your pages. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but just know that it's there, and if you accidentally have your artboard tilted, that's how you do it. This lets you toggle between your different pages. I have 2 pages in this document. If I go in and let's just say we add a couple more artboards here so that I can demonstrate, this allows you to go from page to page, just the single arrow. The arrow with the line goes to the last page or the first page. So if you want to go to the front or the end, that's just an easy way. If you have another align above here, it's called the help window. I have mine turned off, but here it is. This is just some helpful hints to help you move along. Obviously, this is your artboard here, multiple artboards. Outside of your artboard, this is your extra workspace. So this sometimes is where I explore different typefaces, or I copy and paste and try something outside my artboard. Keep in mind, only the things within the artboard are going to print. So if I were to export a PDF, I would have 4 pages, and whatever are on these white areas, that's what I'm going to have show up in my PDF. There are some other views where you can see grids, or this outline is white. I personally work in this format here where my background is gray. That way I can see the difference between my artboard and my outside space. We also have rulers, and my rulers are showing. Command R is the shortcut. If you're not seeing them, Command R or view rulers show. The nice thing about rulers is it allows us to click, hold, and drag some guides down. Click, hold, and drag. We can get both vertical and horizontal guides this way. This helps with alignment. You can also click and drag these around. You can also click, hold, and drag both and hit delete, and they're gone. So really easy to use your rulers. Off to the far right are your floating panels. This is where you get to personalize your space to use whatever it is that you like to use. So I'm going to go to Window, Workspace, Essentials Classic, and it's reset my panels to be Essentials Classic. This is a great place to start, but please know there are some other options here. I encourage my students to start with Essentials Classic, but try these out and see what it is that they're giving you to start with. So we're going to go back to Essentials Classic, and we're going to start adding some different panels over here that are going to be things that we use often in print. So if I were doing editable PDFs, what I would want would be a little different. If I were working on a web project, I may not need all of the tools. I may have a different workspace. So this is comments, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that out and get rid of it. Anything that you don't want, asset exports, I don't need that. Note that there are lines here. So there's a little line there and a little line here. These pop out together, artboards and layers. So you can toggle between, you can see they're highlighted. I can toggle here. I can pull this out. I can put it back. You can do a lot of things with these is why it's called floating tools. So let's go ahead and open a few other tools. We do not have transform, align, and pathfinder, and that's something that we use often, so we definitely want that. We have color, we have brushes. If you have something already in there and you click on it, all it's going to do is open it for you to see you already have it. So we're just looking for some things that we don't have. Let's go down to type, character. Character, paragraph are two you're going to use a lot. I'm going to get rid of open space. Click, hold, and drag till you see blue and drop. I'm going to go back to window, to type, and now I'm going to go to character styles. Character styles and paragraph styles are going to come together. I'm going to open those. So here we have a really good start to what we need in our workspace. I'm going to go to window, workspace, and new workspace. And here I'm going to call this Maggie's workspace. You can name it whatever you want. The last one I made was print projects. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay. Now let's say that I'm working and I accidentally, I'm popping out some windows here. You can also make these shorter. Let's say I'm working on a project and I'm popping out some windows. Oftentimes I'll do this because if I'm zoomed in, then I have easy access to these instead of constantly going back and popping them in and out. I might actually just leave a few open. But let's say I close a few and I know my workspace doesn't have everything I need. So if we go back to workspace, we can reset Maggie's workspace and it will open the other panels that I selected for my personal workspace. You can also go back to workspace, manage workspace, and I can select this, for example, and I could put it in the trash and just say, okay. The other thing I just want to point out here is a lot of times my students will leave their properties window open, and that's perfectly fine. You can do that. I can pop out the whole row of my panels that I've selected. This is one way to do it. You can also make these smaller and bigger, so you can see more of different ones. If you like this view, you can do it. Keep in mind that when you're zoomed in, this is taking up at least a quarter of my workspace. I personally don't like that. I usually hit the double arrows and collapse these, and then I pull out whatever I need, or if I'm trying to align something, I pop this out, align it, and close it. Easy. If I'm going to use something long-term, absolutely, I'm going to go ahead and click that, and I'm going to pull that out. Maybe I want both of them, so if I put them together, it takes up less space than having them separate. But again, your call, you have to figure out what works for you. This takes up a lot less space than opening up all of those panels and taking up a whole row there. And you can move this around. So I'm working in this area, I can leave this at the top or the bottom or wherever you want. If you want it on the left side, you can move it wherever you want. And once you're done, you just click, hold, and drop it in. Easy as that. One thing I want to mention is the control panel that's at the top. So as you click on each of these tools, you'll notice that this row might change out. And it does depend on the tool that you're clicking on. Some of them don't have different tools or options, and so you'll see no change. So there was no change between those two. There's a change. So for artboards, these are the quick tools that are available to you. Also, I'll just go over right now, if you click on the perspective grid, these used to drive me crazy. I never could figure out how to close it, and you simply just click that little X that's in the corner and it will get rid of your perspective. So as you're clicking on these different tools, you can look at the top to see, are there any tools that are available? This is where they're going to show up. That is your control panel. And those are the key elements of your workspace within Adobe Illustrator and how you can set your own personal workspace defaults to be opened in every future project. Be sure you're working smarter, not harder. Take a few minutes to set up your workspace just the way you'd like it. I hope this demo video was helpful. See you next time.